Welcome to tonight's Tanya class. We are in Tanya in the section called Igeret Hakodesh. We're holding chapter 18, Perek Yitches. We know Yitches is life. So obviously this chapter hopefully will give everybody a lot of life, a lot of chayut, a lot of life. It's chapter Yitches, chapter 18. And 18 is all about life. So this chapter, every chapter as we know, is in Tanya, is a foundation of mysticism. So they put down foundation stuff, and each chapter is complete. So today's chapter we're going to learn about two levels of love for God. We all want to be in a loving relationship with God. So we're going to learn today about two levels of a loving relationship with God. So the Alter Rebbe begins based on a verse in Song of Songs from King Solomon, and the verse says as follows: "My yofis na'mat Ahava beta'nogim." How beautiful, how sweet it is, love, but he adds an extra word, beta'nogim. So he speaks of this great, powerful, beautiful, sweet, precious love, but what kind of love? Love beta'nogim. What does that mean? King Solomon is teaching us there's different levels of love, but Ahava beta'nogim, whoa, that's over the top. That's over the top. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain to us, what is this Ahava beta'nogim that we're talking about? What is it? What does that mean? You have a love, and again, we're dealing with Hebrew words, so to translate it, we're going to need to be a little creative, and we're going to have to go on a little journey here. Imagine, because we're going into the world of love. Like for example, if I tell you a table, we all know what a table is. I can point to the table. Love, how do you define love? Right? I understand, but we're not dealing with a physical thing. Yeah. We're dealing with something which is non-tangible. So in order to go into the world of non-tangible, I can't use physical examples. Like a table, I can tell you, it's a piece of wood, it looks like this, I can show you pictures. But how do you explain and how do you show somebody, here, welcome, come inside. How do you explain and show someone what love is? So we're gonna have to be a little creative with our imagination and to really comprehend the idea of what does it mean, love, but more importantly, this level of love, this level of love which is called Ahava beta'nogim, a love of delights, a love of real high-level pleasure, and obviously we're talking about Ahava, this type of love for God. Now, we all know everything comes from God. So any pleasure that exists in the world comes from God. But again, there's different levels. So the Alter Rebbe is going to describe what this level of Ahava beta'nogim is. So first the Alter Rebbe says that you have a Όνeg. What does Όνeg mean? Όνeg is a feeling, but a real deep feeling from within, from a real deep place. Όνeg for Hashem. In other words like this. There's different pleasures in the world. There's physical pleasures. For example, eating. Eating is a pleasure. But because it's a physical thing, it's limited to what it tastes like. For example, and one person might like this, one person not like that. For example, certain items, let's say, even take any item, let's say certain people like putting salt in their food. A little bit is good. A lot is not going to be good already. You can ruin it. Same thing also with anything you eat too much is not going to be good. So it needs to be the right balance. But that's all a physical pleasure. Again, there's many pleasures in the world. But Όνeg we're talking about is not a physical pleasure coming from a physical place. It's coming from a spiritual place. Sometimes like you feel just like great and relaxed, and you say what is it from? And you say, I can't explain it, I just feel great.
It's unlimited.
It's unlimited, exactly. Almost in a certain sense unlimited, and possibly a certain touch of infinite. So the Alter Rebbe says, what is Ahava beta'nogim? That you have this Όνeg, and again, it's not a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing. You have this pleasure of Hashem, and he describes it. Όνeg niflא. So not only is it a Όνeg, not only is it a pleasure, and like a certain sense of security and safety and warmth, and again, probably I'm giving you just some examples of English words, but it's more than that. And the Alter says that level, Όνeg niflא, it's even much greater. It's like, wow. This is like, whoa. It's like, you ever go on you ever meditate? Anyone meditate here? So when you meditate, what happens? You lose like...
I mediated.
You lose, no, not mediate. You lose a sense of being anchored in the physical world, and it's a very, very deep pleasure. Not a tangible, intangible pleasure. We're not finished yet. He gives many examples of this level of Ahava beta'nugim. And then he says, for example, Simcha. We all know what Simcha is. Someone has a name, Simcha, right? We all know what Simcha is, right? Right? Relax, right? We all know what Simcha is, but the author doesn't use only Simcha. Simcha Rabbah. So there's regular Simcha, regular happiness. And then there's something which is called Simcha Rabbah. And he uses another adjective, ועצומה, and really, really strong. So there's Simcha, right? Think about when you're happy. Simcha is happy. But now the Alter Rebbe says Simcha Rabbah, a lot of happiness. And ועצומה, it's really, really strong. So we're doubling up between ta'anug niflä. We're not taking either or. We're putting all these huge pieces together. I mean, we're going to try to manage of going to this place where it's extremely relaxing. No pressure, no distractions, obviously zero sense of worry, concern, or anything. But we're taking away all that stuff. But now in the positive lane, עונג נפלא, שמחה רבה ועצומה. You think we're finished, right? We're not finished yet, because this is going to be an experience.
Longer than that, huh?
If King Solomon says, my yafis and my na'amet, King Solomon gives a description how beautiful it is. We're not dealing with pleasure from a plate of sushi, or some pizza or a steak, whatever you guys like eating. We're talking about real, you like it already, huh? You want to go there.
You've got my interest.
Okay, we're going.
We're going
What?
We're going with you,
Okay.
Rabbi.
Then he goes further. Simchas hanefesh. It's a joy of the soul. Because we know there's a joy of the body, but then there's a joy of the soul. Simchas hanefesh. You can put it up. You can. Yeah, sure, please. Yeah. Simchas hanefesh. Kaloisa. Kaloisa means almost where your soul wants to leave your body. That's how beautiful it is. Because the body holds you down. The body limits you. Not only the physical body, but all physical things limit you. So your soul wants to leave your body. And he's explaining this is all part of the description of Ahava beta'nugim. You guys like this already or not?
Yeah.
You guys want to go there?
We want to go there.
Let's go. Now, and he gives the reason, because why do I want to be this Ahava beta'nugim, this Simcha Rabbah, ועצומה? Why does my soul want to leave my body? Because he says, God is good. Thank you. Thank you. And God is sweet. And what kind of sweetness? A sweetness that you can't even explain. Over the top sweetness. You guys are with me?
Yeah.
Which heaven are we in right now? Which heaven are we in?
We want to go there.
Let's stay there, right? And the Alter Rebbe explains, you ready for this? It's a מעין, it's a taste. A sliver, a taste, a glimmer of what it's going to be like in the world to come. Now we know the world to come is not this world. The world to come is not a physical world. It's an infinite world. So this experience is just a sliver. It's just like a taste of what it's going to be like in the world to come.
It's indescribable.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Because we know it says in the world to come, all the righteous people are sitting there, they're basking in the Shekhinah, in God's glory. It almost sounds like the perfect vacation that we all hope for and want. But he says, guess what? Ahava beta'nugim. If you love God in that level, that's it. You got it. If you love God in that level, I think
you have it in this world.
Yes, I think with this,
Yes.
I think
we're going to go to the next world. Is this what they're?
No, we're talking about in this world. This world. I think you guys like it so much that you wouldn't mind sitting here for the next 20 hours listening to this class, right?
That's right.
It's like, right?
I would.
I think David also. He's changing his mind on us, right? Right? That's it. He's with us.
Canceling his appointments as you speak.
He's beaming.
There's no appointments on that level. There's no appointments.
I'm saying he's canceling.
There's no appointments, right? Okay. Now, but the Alter Rebbe says, you ready for this? There's a verse that tells us, Simchu tzadikim b'Hashem, that righteous people, what's their joy? Not in a bottle, not in anything physical, b'Hashem. Their joy comes from where? Hashem. From Hashem. Now, what does that mean? So the verse is saying two things. That the tzadikim, righteous people, their joy comes from Hashem. That means if you want that your joy should come strictly Ahava beta'nogim from Hashem, you got to be in the level of a tzaddik.
You got to be righteous.
That's it. You can't have your cake and eat it. You want it? You can have it. You got to be a tzaddik. You're not going to be a tzaddik. You can't. It's like trying to get to the top of a building without climbing. It's 100 stories high without climbing the steps or taking an elevator. Standing down here is not getting you anything. You have to got to get up there. So the same thing also. You're going to be a tzaddik. You'll have it. You won't be. You won't have it. And the Alter Rebbe says, not every person. You ready for this? Now I'm going to give you the bad news. No, it's the good news, but it's the news. Not every person will merit this level, or could merit this level. And the Alter explains, this is the level which it says that by the priest in the temple, Kehana, when they do the service in the temple, it's very, very powerful, very spiritual. And the Zohar uses a term, Ru'usa de Liba. They pray from the depth of their heart. Now that's a very high level. And as the Torah tells us, that it's a gift for the priests, that through their prayer service they're able to reach very, very high levels. And however, but we know that is a person that's not a priest allowed to be in the temple when they do the service? No. There's only certain parts we're allowed to go into. Why? Because a stranger, it doesn't only mean a stranger, an Israelite versus a priest. Now we're talking a spiritual level. Someone that's not on the level of a tzaddik. Someone that's not on the level of a Kohen, guess what? If you come close, it's too strong. What does the Torah tell us? You're going to die. Why? Because you're not going to be able to handle it. It's too peaceful. You know, a lot of people, you take them on vacation, when is the vacation over? They can't handle it. They want action. They need some, right? They need some action. Meditate. Give me a phone. I need a text on. Relax. See, unfortunately, we can't relax anymore. Why? Because we need to do something. That's not Ahava beta'nogim. Ahava beta'nogim possibly is getting rid of your cell phone for a few days. Is it hard to do?
Yeah, that's scary.
It's scary, you see? But on the other hand, that's possibly Ahava beta'nogim. Now, okay. So what does the Alter Rebbe tell us? And this is very, very important. First, he explains to us this level of Ahava beta'nogim, how amazing it is. On the other hand, he tells us it's only for tzadikim, or high priests that do that level, and it's something which we cannot attain. We cannot attain.
So why tell us?
Oh, very good. So why tell us? Very good. So why tell you? Why tell you? Why tell you? Very good. So the Alter Rebbe says, guess what? This is something you cannot work for it directly, but this is something God can give you as a gift. Could you earn it? No. You can't earn it directly. You can earn it indirectly. This is something which comes as a gift. This is something that you can't push buttons and make it happen. So you have to do the work beforehand. When you do the work beforehand, this comes as a gift from God. What's the work beforehand? So the Alter Rebbe explains. That is doing something which is called Yirat Hashem. Working on being in awe of God. And awe of God is different to every single person depending on the level of your soul. So depending on the level of your soul, that's how you're going to work on Yiras Hashem. And if you do a great job in Yiras Hashem, guess what? You're going to get a gift, this high level of Ahava. Now, just to make it clear, in Kabbalah it speaks about, we'll start from the top since we started, the highest level of Ahava beta'nogim, which we just described, which that comes as a gift once you do the work. The lower level on that is the high level of Yiras Hashem, the high level of being in awe of God, and that is a whole avodah. There's a whole process how to work on that, which he doesn't talk about in depth in this chapter. He just mentions, in order to see the highest level, you have to do that. There's a lower level of Yira, and again, he does not discuss the lower level in this chapter. It's discussed in different parts of Tanya, and another place in Kabbalah mysticism. And then there's the lowest level of Ahava, the lower level of which he discusses in depth in the second half of this chapter, which we're going to talk about now. So again, the picture is clear. We'll start again, now we'll flip it around. We'll start from the bottom to the top. The first avodah is to work on Avos Hashem, lower level of Ahava, which we're going to talk about that in 1 minute, what that is. From there, you climb up. Once you have real Avos Hashem, then you develop Yiras Hashem, which comes after that. Then there's a second level of Yira. And if you really do the second level of Yira well, guess what? God will give you a gift, what we just spoke about. Now, your question is why talk about it if we can't achieve it? Because it's important to know what we could get. If we put the work in, we'll have that gift.
But you said we can't earn it.
You can earn it not by working on Avas Hashem, but you can work on it by working on your Yiras Hashem. You got it? So notice, you can say, I want to love God. It's not happening. You can work on Avas Hashem, the lowest level, Yiras Hashem again, and then God willing, you John the job, God gives you this beautiful gift.
And year is the awe.
Year is awe. And there's two levels of awe.
That's what we can work on.
Exactly. Okay. And we have to work on Avas Hashem also. Right. But if we want to get to the top of the ladder, we do Avas Hashem, lowest level, which we're going to talk about in depth in a minute. Yiras Hashem again. Yiras Hashem, those three we could work on, and then we get the top one as a gift. Now, why did he start off with that? Because it's always nice to know what you're working for. And it's always nice to know, we can have something, what the goal is. We can have something really, really amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, let's start level number 1. So we started level number 4 just to show you what the goal is. And it's nice to have a nice goal in mind.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean, by the way, it's all or nothing. You can get glimmers of it. It doesn't mean you get it and then you stay there. Life is ups and downs. So you work on Avos Hashem, you'll get a little glimmer of it, and then maybe you'll lose it again, and then you can get it back again. And so the goal is to obviously try to get it and keep it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about entry-level Avos Hashem, which is great.
Love.
Ava's love, yes. Entry level of loving God, which we call, so to speak, the lowest level of love. Okay. What is the entry level of Avos Hashem? The idea that we all want to have a relationship with God, and we want to be connected to God, and we don't want to be disconnected from God. And this Avos Hashem that we want, basic level Avos Hashem, it's good for our soul. Why? Because think about it. If your soul's in love with God, it's a great thing. So we want to be connected with God. We want to love God. We don't want to be disconnected from God. That is the first level of Avos Hashem. Now, what's interesting is the Alter Rebbe says, this level, that's like the highest level we don't have, we'll get it as a gift. The lowest level, guess what the Alter Rebbe says? You don't have to work for it. You know why? Because we have it within us. Every single person has this ability to have Avos Hashem. Not only, but we have it within us. We have that Avos Hashem. The only thing is that we have it in a concealed way.
I have to wake up to it.
Exactly. So we are all born. We are all born. We don't have to create a nature to love God. We are born with the nature to love God. We have it. It's within us. So our job is to do what? Do one thing. To reveal it. That's all. We have it, we have to reveal it. Which is interesting is, the Alter Rebbe explains, that's why, since every single person has this natural love for God, that means everybody, whether you're a saint, or God for the other extreme, you're a sinner, we all have this love for God. So the Alter Rebbe says, since we all have this love for God, guess what? Even if somebody was, God forbid, wicked, they have the love for God. And the Alter Rebbe says, guess what? This is where Jewish guilt comes from. Think about it. Why people feel guilty when they sin? Why do they feel they don't feel right? They don't feel good about it. Take the biggest sinner and ask him in a quiet moment, you feel good what you did? He'll say no. Why? Because the love for God is part of his DNA, his or her DNA. So if when they do something wrong, it might feel good at the moment, but deep down they don't feel good because it's not in line with who they really are. Because our essence is that we love God. Our essence is we don't want to be disconnected from God. So since our essence is that we love God and we don't want to be disconnected from God, when we do something wrong, how do we feel?
Guilty.
We don't feel right. And we have remorse. Because who we really are is that we really love God. Now, back to the question of ourselves, if we really love God, so how come sometimes we sin? And the Alter says very simple. Because the love is concealed. Now, if the love was revealed, you would never sin. But because it's concealed, so in terms of the Kabbalistic language, the klipot, come and attack and take over. And that's how we do sometimes inappropriate things. So in other words, the pros and the cons are, because it's concealed, we always have it. But because it's concealed, the klut can come and take over. So what's our avoda? Our avoda is to get rid of the klut from our body, from our thoughts, from our speech, from our action, from every part of us. And what's our avoda? Now, one is to clean up, get rid of the klut from your whole system, thought, speech, and action, every part of you, and to bring in the love for God in your thought, in your speech, and your action, every part of you. But here the Alter Rebbe says, it's important and crucial that if you really want to get rid of it, you have to remember like this. There's something which is called, a woman in the house is called Igeret habayit, right? She's the mainstay of the house. What does that mean? The woman is the mainstay of the house. So the same thing also, we all have a spiritual house. You want to make sure that your house, which is your thought, speech, and action, has one main ruler. What is that? A love for God. Not a little bit of love for God and a love for the other stuff. No. That's possibly spiritual infidelity. There should be one focus. We all love God. Now, why is it called love? Because we want that. Don't we all want to love God? That what? It means every thought of ours should be about God. Everything comes out of our mouth should be in line with God. Everything that we do should be in line with God. So the Alter Rebbe says this avoda that we have, that we're constantly trying to be in love with God, you know what it's called? It's called Ahava. But Ahava of tzama lecha nafshi, where my soul yearns to be with God. In other words, because it's in a concealed state, I'm yearning for it to be revealed. Now, because I'm yearning for it to be revealed, could I enjoy it right now? And here's the Alter Rebbe says something very, very profound and interesting. You cannot yearn and enjoy at the same time. Think about that. Think about something that you want, that you don't have. You can yearn for it. Could you enjoy it? By definition.
Not yet.
You don't have it yet.
Not yet.
Once you have it, could you yearn for it? You have it. What are you yearning for? You have it.
You don't need to.
You have it, exactly. So notice, let's go forward. So our avoda is that we're yearning to bring God in our life, to love God, thought, speech, and action. Once we have that, the yearning goes away. What kicks in? Pleasure. You have it. Anything that you have is pleasure. Anything that you yearn for is yearning. So if you're yearning, it's not pleasure. If it's pleasure, it's not yearning. And our goal is that we should be yearning for God. And then we have Yiras Hashem, and then the real pleasure kicks in. And then, as you know, there's many, many levels. So once you've gotten to this level, that's great, but now you want to go higher. You yearn for the next level. And then once you get there, pleasure, then you have to go higher. We're finite, God's infinite. So we can have multiple levels of spiritual growth. So spiritual growth, what the way the Alter Rebbe says, is very simple. First we yearn, then we get there. Life is great. But guess what? We're finite, God's infinite. Can we yearn for now to go higher? For sure.
Sure.
And that's it keeps on going.
Want more.
Exactly. Now, but on the other hand, the Alter Rebbe says, when we yearn, what are we yearning for? Every part of us, our thought, our speech and action should be for God. But here's the key word. It should be exclusively for God. Not 1 minute, oh my gosh, God, I love you. And the next minute, I love whatever. Right? Fill in the blanks. You don't want it to be bouncing back and forth. You want it to be an exclusive relationship. Now, comes along the Alter Rebbe and he says, and here is the interesting part, where does the yearning take place? In our heart. In our heart. In our heart. Exactly. Now, this that we love God, is it in the revealed part of our heart or the concealed part? It's in the concealed part of our heart. Our job is to bring it out to the revealed part of our heart and then bring it out in our thought, speech, and action. Now, is it possible that our heart should only yearn for God? We shouldn't have any yearning for anything physical in this world?
No.
So if you're on a level of a tzaddik, like you said in the beginning of the chapter, yeah, sure. King David worked his whole life to get rid of his animal soul. We're not at that level yet. So the Alter Rebbe says, guess what?
We need to work on it.
You can absolutely should work on it. But that, to accomplish that is huge. And that could take a whole, King David took him a whole lifetime. And he fasted, and he wrote book Psalms, and he struggled. Halavai, we should be on the level of King David, right?
Yeah.
So to transform our heart, that it should be exclusive for God, that's not easy. However, 2 key points Alter Rebbe makes right here. Point number 1 is, even though we cannot transform our heart, that it should be exclusively focused on God, but we do have full power, that we can direct our thoughts whether we feel it or not. So for example, let's say you don't feel God is the answer for you in every way. You feel like there's other things that give you happiness, not necessarily God. Whether it's correct or not, that's how you feel. Could you train your mind to think that God is the only one who gives you happiness? Absolutely.
Yes.
You don't have to agree, but you can think that. Could you speak, God is the best, right? Hashem Elokim, we love Hashem, etc. Absolutely, you can say it, even though you might necessarily feel it all the time. Could you do whatever God wants you to do, and only what God? Yes, absolutely. But that you do have the power to do. Now, when a person works on his actions, his speech, and his thought, even though he's not holding them maybe on his heart level, guess what? Meanwhile, your actions are loving God. Look at your actions, you're loving God. Your speech is loving God. Your thought is loving God. That's point number 1. Point number 2, the Alter Rebbe says, but your heart's on fire. It has this desire, right, for physical things. Alter Rebbe says, I'll give you a very simple tip. Again, remember, we cannot transform the heart. At least, that's a much harder job. But you have a desire, right? You want to eat good food. You want to drink some good drinks. Even l'chaim, whatever it may be. Guess what, Alter Rebbe says? A, make sure it's kosher. It goes without saying. But more importantly, and here, 3 important words. If you remember these words, it will train your whole life. B'chol drachecha de'eyu. What does that mean? B'chol means in all. Drachecha, your paths. That means wherever you go, whatever you do. De'eyu, you should know God. What does that mean? Very simple. You have to sit down and eat. Drink, whatever it may be. Kosher. The soul rather pray and study and do a mitzvah. But you got to eat. Whether you like it, you still have to eat. Even the soul has to eat. Otherwise, how are you going to live in this world? And you have to drink. So it's things you have to do. But what does God say? B'chol drachecha. It's actually based on a verse from King Solomon. B'chol drachecha, in all your ways, da'eyu, find God in that experience. That means you're eating. You're eating for the sake of God. You're drinking for the sake of God. So what you're doing is, you're doing simple tasks, but bring God into those simple tasks. By bringing God into those simple tasks, what are you doing? You're bringing the love of God literally into everything in this world that you're doing. So again, maybe your heart is not transformed, but your thoughts are, your speech is, your action is, and even your simple mundane things. You're at a party for God. You want to sing, you want to dance, get the DJ, put on good Jewish music. Let it be Jewish music. What's wrong with that? You really have a need to put the lights on? Put on kosher lights. Whatever it may be. The point is, make sure whatever you do, you want to make a nice meal, make it Friday night. Make it a nice, beautiful Friday night dinner. Invite your friends, celebrate Shabbos. So what you're doing is, you're taking a social experience and you're turning it into a godly experience. What the Alter was saying is, you know what you're going to accomplish? That you're going to have Ahava Hashem in everything that you're doing. And that is called what? Tzama l'chanafshi. Why? Because my soul yearns to be with God, and I'm going to bring my love of God into everything that I do. So you see clearly this chapter is a beautiful chapter, because it lays out for you the spiritual map of life. We started from the top, we'll now reverse it, we'll start from the bottom. Meaning to say is, first of all, is the first thing that every one of us can do, we can have a yearning for God. Yearning of what? To love God. Now, again, maybe we can transform our heart, but our thought, can be for God, our speech, our action, everything that we're doing, and that we have full control over. And we want every part of our life to be directed to the love of God. Then, the Alter Rebbe didn't elaborate too much here, but he said then you have the level of Yiras Hashem, to be in awe of God, which comes after that, and we discussed it in the first part of Tanya when we learned it there. Then you have the highest level of Yira, and then from there, if we're really, really lucky, God will give us this huge gift, and we'll have a Ahava, a love of God, not of yearning, that we want to get there, but Ahava beta'nugim, that we're there in this great place, basking in the love of God. And I hope and wish for each and every one of us here, everyone watching, that we should all experience it in this world and as much as possible.